July 1st, 2025, the day humanity realized we were being visited again. The third interstellar object ever seen, a traveler from beyond our sun. But this one is different, disturbingly different. New data shows it carries fingerprints no comet should possess, structures no natural wanderer should form. Some say it's a planet seed, others whisper it may be engineered. One truth cuts through the noise: if the evidence is real, then 3I Atlas is not good, not for science, not for Earth, and not for the future of our place in the universe. The story begins weeks earlier, on June 14th, 2025. In Chile, the southern skies were unusually clear when survey data from the Zwicky Transient facility showed a faint streak. At first, it was dismissed, just another background anomaly, perhaps a glitch. But 2 weeks later, on July 1st, the Atlas telescope in Hawaii confirmed it, an object moving far too quickly to belong to our solar system. Its speed measured at 58 kilometers per second relative to the sun. Orbital models gave an answer no one expected: hyperbolic, retrograde, unbound. This was no local comet, it came from elsewhere. For the third time in history, humanity was witnessing an interstellar intruder. The first was Oumuamua in 2017, the second, Comet Borisov in 2019. But this new visitor was stranger than them both. What set it apart wasn't only its speed or its orbit, but its chemistry. And this is where the mystery begins to unravel. By August, the first spectroscopic results came in. Scientists expected the usual profile of a comet: water vapor, some carbon monoxide, dust. But 3I Atlas refused to obey the rules. Carbon dioxide dominated water vapor by nearly 8-1. In our solar system, no comet comes close. Stranger still, traces of oxygen were found while it was still 500 million kilometers from the sun. At that distance, water should remain frozen. It should have been silent, but it was already active. Something was driving it, and no one could explain why. Imaging revealed more. The coma, the great cloud around the nucleus, did not look random. It formed a stable forward-facing fan. Not chaotic, not explosive, but steady, as if something beneath its surface was controlling the flow. By early September, whispers began spreading in observatories across the world. This wasn't behaving like a comet at all. Then came the shock from the Very Large Telescope in Chile. Its instruments revealed clear signs of nickel, but iron, which always appears with nickel, was missing. In every known comet, they formed together. Yet here, nickel stood alone. Polarization studies added to the strangeness. The light scattering off its dust showed that the grains were impossibly porous. Clusters of thousands of tiny fragments, bound so loosely they looked more engineered than natural. Taken together, these clues painted a picture that no one could categorize. By mid-September, space agencies moved behind closed doors. NASA called emergency session. The European Space Agency demanded special reports. In China, the Great Fast Radio Telescope quietly turned its gaze toward the object. Russia said nothing, but leaked documents suggested military observatories were following every move. And behind the silence, rumors began to spread. Some suspected this was a planetary seed, a fragment ejected from a young star system carrying alien chemistry across the void. But others whispered something far more unsettling: that 3I Atlas might not be natural at all. 3 theories rose to the surface. The first, the safe one, held that this was simply a natural but exotic comet, born in the frozen reaches of another star, rich in carbon dioxide, strange in its makeup, but still a wanderer without intent. The second theory was bolder, the planet seed idea, a building block of worlds, expelled from a nursery light years away. If true, its isotopes would carry alien fingerprints, rewriting our understanding of how planets like Earth are born. But the third theory refused to fade, that this object was engineered, a disguised artifact traveling under the mask of a comet, a probe, or something more. October would be the first test. On the 3rd, 3I Atlas would pass just 30 million kilometers from Mars, a cosmic near miss. If its orbit shifted even slightly, it could strike the planet. The energy of such an impact would exceed 100,000 megatons, blanketing Mars in storms, disrupting satellites, and shaking humanity's growing foothold on the red world. For Earth, the threat was different. Even without a collision, a near pass could disrupt satellites, scatter interstellar dust into our skies, or worse, deliver something we were not prepared to receive. The clock was ticking. October 29th, the date of perihelion when the object would come closest to the Sun. December 19th, the date of its closest pass to Earth, just 1.8 astronomical units away, the prime window for every great telescope. And finally March 16th, 2026, when it would pass near Jupiter before vanishing into the dark. Each checkpoint, a chance for answers, or for more unsettling questions. December would be the reckoning. On that date, the James Webb Space Telescope would measure isotopes down to the 4th decimal place. Hubble would map its coma. ALMA would hunt for gas lines. And the Very Large Telescope would search its dust for secrets. One anomaly could change everything. One impossible ratio, one spectral line beyond nature, and the debate would end. Either this was a comet, a planet seed, or something entirely beyond our imagination. But what would that mean? If it was a comet, then the catalog of worlds would grow stranger. If it was a planet seed, then the story of our origins would need rewriting. But if it was an artifact, the implications would be the most profound in history. Proof that we are not alone. Proof that intelligence has crossed into our solar system. Proof also that it has purpose. Because if it is engineered, then it is here for a reason. As 3I Atlas moves silently closer, the evidence piles up. Nickel without iron, dust too strange to be natural, a coma geometry too deliberate to be random. And yet no one is ready to declare the extraordinary. Every night, telescopes track its glow. Every day, data floods in. Still, the object refuses to fit into any box we have built. Is it a wanderer, a seed, a machine, or something else entirely? The answers may arrive in December, or perhaps not at all. For now, one truth remains. 3I Atlas is not what we thought it was. And if the latest evidence is true, then it is not good. The world waits. Watching, wondering, listening to a visitor from another star, a visitor that may not be here by chance, but by design. In the weeks after its discovery, the pace of revelations quickened. Each new observation seemed to add a contradiction, a puzzle piece that refused to fit the others. Astronomers were struck by how steady its coma remained. Normally, comets erupt unpredictably, jets of gas bursting through cracks, spewing dust in sudden flares. But Atlas was different. Its emissions followed a rhythm, almost mechanical in their regularity. This was not chaos. This was control. For the first time, whispers moved beyond quiet labs and late-night phone calls. Could this object be responding to something? Could it even be signaling? The idea seemed absurd, yet history weighed heavily on the minds of scientists. Oumuamua, the first interstellar object, had left behind lingering suspicions when it accelerated away from the Sun without a clear cause. Avi Loeb, one of the few willing to say aloud what others only whispered, suggested that Oumuamua might have been artificial. Most dismissed him. But now, with 3I Atlas, his words no longer seemed so easy to ignore. Because unlike Oumuamua, this object carried chemistry, emissions, and dust patterns that could be measured, cataloged, tested, and the tests were failing to prove it ordinary. Behind the scenes, governments scrambled. Quiet leaks from within the European Southern Observatory spoke of urgent communications between the United States, China, and Russia, not about science, but about security. If Atlas were more than a comet, then its trajectory mattered in ways far beyond astronomy. An engineered visitor passing this close to Mars, and later so near to Earth, could not be ignored. Classified briefings framed the object as a potential probe. Others described it as a planetary hazard. None dared to say what some already believed, that this might be contact, not with a message, not with a signal, but with an object, a physical presence drifting through our system. Meanwhile, amateur astronomers watched with growing unease. Ground-based images, though less precise, showed something unsettling. The tail of the comet shifted slightly from week to week, not randomly, but in ways that mirrored solar conditions too closely, as though Atlas were adjusting itself. On astronomy forums, speculation ran wild. Some insisted it was simply outgassing. Others pointed to the unnerving possibility of guidance. The debate spilled into the public sphere, where media outlets struggled to strike a balance between fact and fear. But fear was spreading faster than facts could contain. By late October, as Atlas swung past Mars, Instruments recorded a faint but measurable anomaly in its path. A tiny acceleration, unexplained by solar pressure or gas jets, nudged its orbit by fractions of a degree. On paper, it was insignificant. In reality, it changed everything, because a natural comet should not move like that. Subtle or not, it was a deviation, and in deviation lay intention. Was it a random quirk of volatile chemistry, or the faintest trace of a hidden drive? Scientists rushed to replicate the data. Teams in Chile, Hawaii, and Spain compared results. Each confirmed the same thing: the anomaly was real. At the United Nations, quiet conversations turned tense. Should the public be told? Should there be preparation? And most dangerously of all, should Atlas be considered a threat? For now, the official line remained cautious. No evidence of danger, no evidence of intelligence. Yet every private report echoed the same warning. We are no longer certain what we are dealing with. Speculation surged. Some argued that Atlas might be a fragment of an ancient planetary system, a broken shard wandering for eons. Others advanced the theory of panspermia, the idea that comets could carry the seeds of life across galaxies. If true, then 3I Atlas might hold within it the chemistry of another world, an alien recipe for biology itself. But the darker theory refused to be silenced, that it was not a seed but a probe. And if it was a probe, then the next question was the most terrifying of all. Was it only observing, or was it searching? December loomed, the month when Atlas would swing into perfect alignment with Earth's great instruments. For scientists, it promised clarity. For governments, it promised answers. For the public, it promised fear. Every new observation drew us closer to a truth we might not be ready to face. And as the comet brightened in the night sky, a new unease spread. What if this was not just another interstellar traveler? What if, for the first time in history, we were not merely watching the universe, but being watched in return?